I'm certain that your cost is based on the complexity of
It
what
is.
any individual needs. Do you do an initial consultation to kind of get an assessment of what any particular individual might need when they start looking at it?
Yeah, so before someone sits in my chair, a couple of things can happen. You can either attend a workshop, and at that workshop, I kind of go over all the general concepts of estate planning and elder law. So that way when you're sitting in my seat, we're actually talking about your situation. If a person goes to a workshop before an initial consult, the initial consult is waived. But if you want to sit in my chair, you can for $250. And then you can get that education you would have gotten for free at a workshop. I don't mind. But, so, you know, before you come into my office, though, everyone does have homework. And there's a worksheet that gives me some basic information about the client, their family, their assets. And they do complete that and bring that in with me. And then at that first meeting together, we're actually doing kind of what we're doing right now, which is kind of designing a plan at that first meeting and making some decisions. Because I find that's where people they have a hard time making decisions, not realize we can change everything, but make a decision today. So that's what happens at that first meeting. We talk about their situation and we actually start designing a plan at that first meeting.
How long does that process last?
From start to finish?
Yeah.
So it takes about 4 weeks to get from the initial meeting with me to the signing ceremony. So anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the complexity of the plan. So after that first meeting, now if it's a really complex plan, it might require a second meeting to come back in to kind of finish up some details. But otherwise, we have a plan designed. I send confirmation of everything we discussed. Make sure stuff like names and all that kind of stuff is correct. And in 3 to 4 weeks, they can actually come in and actually sign everything. So the signing meetings, clients have likened them to closing on a home. Lots of paperwork, as you can imagine. But my goal is to try to make this as seamless as possible, because I know there are a lot of emotions that are, you know, we're talking about some scary stuff for some folks. So just to make the process as easy as possible. I've heard of people working with estate planning attorneys for years and never get a plan signed, and that scares me.
They got invoices. They got invoices though.
Yeah. They get that invoice. Right. So I'm a stickler. So we always know after that first meeting, this is our signing date. By this date, we're going to have all this stuff done. By this date, I'm going to need this information, vice versa. So we actually have a plan, because I've just seen things kind of draw out, and I don't want that, because if you don't have a plan signed, you're not protected. So.
Is it you who brings it up, or is it the client who brings up when they want to disperse the money, how they want to disperse it? I mean,
it's a conversation.
You really don't know.
And that's the thing, and so much of my job is educating people on their options. So I'm going to educate you on my options, but it's not my job to make a decision. But it is my job to educate you on what you can possibly do. So that happens at that first meeting, where I'm literally going through and saying, okay, well, here we can do this, or we can do this type of thing.
I've got 2 other quick questions.
Yeah.
One is...
It's going to be your last one. I think we have the last one over here.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I know that you said this is a moving thing, so it's not like a static thing.
Yeah.
How frequently would somebody normally make changes?
I'm glad you asked that. I do have a slide. But I will review a plan. If I do a plan for a client, I am reviewing their plan every 3 years anyway on the house.
Okay.
And I tell clients, if there's a major life event, you need to call me sooner.
Okay.
But I say at least every 3 years, and then more if there's a major life change. Warren Buffett, he said every 5 to 6 years, but he is who he is. But at least you see that he's getting it done. It's not, it's not something, it's not a one and done thing.
But then the second part of that question is, with dealing with real estate, I'm familiar with land trusts and things like that from a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
Do you work in conjunction with a financial planner to make sure that the life stuff is in conjunction with the financial everyday stuff?
So if my clients have a financial advisor, I do reach out to them before we actually have them sign a plan to kind of tell them what we've come up with and make sure that it doesn't, make sure we're not missing anything, there are no conflicts, those kind of things. And then if we're good to go, I'll have the client sign the trust, But then the next step is making sure things are actually owned in the right way. So that requires me working with their financial advisor to make sure beneficiary designations are up to date.
So if somebody's planning on working with a financial advisor and you, who should they talk to first?
They can talk to the financial advisor first. That's fine. Because a lot of times it's just making sure we have like the foundation.
Okay.
You know, making sure you have enough life insurance if you have kids, those kind of things. And then usually the financial advisor will say, okay, well, the next step is make sure that we're protecting all this good stuff. But yeah, we usually will work together. Now, a lot of it depends on the financial advisor.
Right.
Because some folks, they have one, but they really don't have a financial advisor.
Right.
Yeah, so getting someone on the phone can be difficult.
Well, just you kind of put my mind at ease because I have a widow. Just like I said, I just went through a divorce. I have
Yeah.
about that. And my fear is I have 2 kids.
Yeah.
So as soon as my divorce was final, that first week, my beneficiary changed
Yeah.
to my kids. And my will does say disbursement in case something happened for my kids certain ages. But I know my ex, you know, she's sitting there waiting because like the house, changed the deed on the house because the house came to me, even though she's living in it for the next 3 years. But I guess my fear is something happened to me now. The kids are pretty sad, but I know she's sitting there waiting. Like I'm their caretaker. I'm their their guardian. So I should get something.
Right.
How can I protect that from happening, or is there a way to protect? Like
There
is her
is.
get her hands back on?
There is. Absolutely. Through a trust.
Right.
You absolutely
But
can.
you know, the will is good, but it seems like the trust is more solid.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, I think when I tell them the difference in the pricing, so just so you know, like a standard will for a single individual, and obviously we're talking about more than, so everything I do is in packages. Let me back up.
Okay.
So no one will ever leave my office with just a will or just a trust. It's making sure that you have all the ancillary documents too, so that we can make sure this plan actually works. So that means your healthcare directives, your financial power of attorney, your HIPAA authorizations, all that stuff comes together. So for single individuals, there's several $100s for wills. Trusts start at around $3,000. So the cost for some people is like, whoa, but I'm like, hey, long term,
It's the best.
yeah, it is. It's money well spent. It really is.